Hello and welcome to the first Savvy Ladies Wednesday Wisdom webinar of 2015. My name is Maggie Montemuro and I am the Marketing Coordinator at Savvy Ladies. If you have a question during the presentation, please type it into the chat window. Or if you are joining us by phone, you can email your question to info@savvyladies.org. Today's presenter is Alison Pena, Principal Catalyst at the Affluent Code, a consulting company that believes affluence is everywhere. According to Alison, affluence is not a mindset or a fixed dollar amount. Thank you for being here with us today, Alison, to start our 2015 webinar series, and I'll now hand it over to you.
Thank you so much, Maggie. Okay, just looking at, there we go. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to you about how to unlock your affluent business and lifestyle. So what we're going to start with is a new definition of affluence that's much more empowering and accessible and expansive than typically what we see. So, so what affluence is not, and this is what people typically assume affluence is. Affluence is not how many dollars you have in your bank account. It is not for only rich or lucky people. It's not dependent on your circumstances, and it's not about chasing other people's dreams instead of your own. So we see this because we've seen rich people who become very poor and people who have nothing who become very rich. So clearly it's not any of these things. So what is it? It's getting crystal clear about what your chosen life and legacy is. Because until you know what you want and what you're going for, it's very hard to get it. And even if you're achieving the successes that other people say are affluence, that may not be it for you. It's about shifting from seeing scarcity to seeing infinite possibilities. For people who are wealthy, what they see is all the possible options, and then they're choosing from among those. You're going to learn, it's about learning practical skills to take expansive actions. So this sort of continues what I was saying before. We're either expanding or contracting. And when we're not experiencing enough money, enough time, enough freedom, we tend to contract in a time when we need to expand if we want to access our affluence. And finally, stepping into the time, money, and freedom that you desire, because there is a business and a lifestyle that you can see for yourself, and you may or may not yet have claimed it. And probably, if you're on this webinar and you've been attracted to this topic, you don't yet have what you want. And that's why you're here. Oops. Okay, so there are 3 affluence gaps between you and the money you desire, because it starts with money. So it's money, time, and freedom, but it starts with money, because money can buy you the time with your family and friends that you want. If you don't have money, you're not that free, because you're not able to do what you want, go where you want, spend time with who you want. So we'll start with money. So one of the things that may be between you and the money you desire is that you're questioning your own worth, and you're questioning the value of your work. So that's a wrong mindset thing. The fact of the matter is that your clients don't care what you think you're worth. Your clients care about the results that they get from the work that you do with them. When we entangle the value of ourselves with the value of our work, it's not effective, because it's not what the clients are actually paying for. They're paying for what they see when they work with you. So that's the wrong mindset one. Wrong pricing. Very often we look at what we do and we say, well, I would not pay whatever the price is for that. We may be undervaluing the work we do because it's easy for us. So for someone who is a web designer and web design is super easy for them, they may be going, well, I don't know that I would pay very much for what I do. But if you're talking to someone who's in their 60s, for whom this is not organic and easy, your work is very, very valuable. So if you're judging by what you would pay, you're looking through your eyes instead of the eyes of your clients. If you're undervaluing your work, you're not looking at what your clients say your work is worth. You're looking at what you think it's worth, and that's not a very effective filter. And finally, wrong market. So, affluence starts with you. When you look on my website, that's where I begin. Affluence starts with you. And typically, what we do is we look out into the marketplace and we look at where there are groups of people who are buying the kind of work that we do. And that's not the best way to go. You're not going to get the right clients that way. The thing that's important about identifying what your right market is as opposed to the wrong market is to really it's a mutual interview. Are you choosing who you want to work with? Are you picking the ones that are going to be the best clients for you? The ones who are going to turn into raving fans, the ones who are going to appreciate what you do? Because then your work and your business is a pleasure. Then you have affluence because when you go to work, it's not painful. Now, that's not to say that we'll ever like every single aspect of the work we do. That's just not realistic. But if you choose people who are a pleasure to be with and a pleasure to interact with and a pleasure to do business with, it truly changes the game. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you two specific practices that I use with clients to help them expand their affluence. So, it's counterintuitive, as I was saying, but you actually have to expand your desires to earn more money. So, this is a practice called shifting from a budget to survive to a budget to thrive. So everybody knows about a budget to survive. And that's really why people struggle with this idea of budget, because the idea of budget sounds like um, having less, uh, lacking something, giving up things that you care about. So a budget to survive is how much money does it take to pay your mortgage or your rent, to pay your gas and your electric, to pay your food, to pay your transportation, your internet, your cable, your phone. So these are the basics, and each person has their basics. Um, but aside from the phone, which I neglected to put in there, um, this is pretty much it. The problem is that it's not that exciting to earn money for this. This is a matter of you have a stack of bills and then you have the money you're making. And at the end of the day, there's nothing left over. That's a budget to survive. The problem is that because that does not give us an experience of affluence, that does not give us an experience of living a life that's worthwhile. In a budget to survive, we do it grudgingly. We're earning money grudgingly, and there's not that much excitement about it. So it's not particularly expansive. And to earn more money, we need to desire more. We need to not be desperate because your clients can feel if you are in survival mode, as opposed to we have plenty of clients and we're picking and choosing. We are doing fine. So it's a posture, a budget to survive to a budget to thrive. It's also a posture that will change the number of clients you get and the quality of clients you get. So, what's a budget to thrive? A budget to thrive is to add in uh, what your desires are beyond your basic needs and actually figure out what it would cost to have them. So that it might be savings, retirement, or investment funds, money for that. It might be theater, dance, music, movies, other entertainment. It might be pampering with massage, Pilates, acupuncture, manicures, spas. Might be vacations with family and friends. It might be eating out in restaurants. It might be travel around the country or around the world. You have your thing that would just improve your quality of life exponentially. Now, here's the thing that we do as adults that really trip us up. What we do is we assume that because we're adults, our pleasures need to be expensive. And that's just not true. So, if you'll remember, as a child, perhaps you or a neighbor or something had a refrigerator delivered and your parents kept the box. And as a child, you could play in that refrigerator box for weeks until the thing fell apart. It could be a house, it could be a pirate ship, it could be all kinds of things. And as adults, what we forget is that we could have the pleasure of a refrigerator box. So our desire could be to travel around the world, or, and we could desire to have a walk in the woods. We could desire to learn to paint. We could desire things that are less expensive and more accessible. Because what happens is that we start somewhere. So these are some of mine. So on the left, there's a picture of a phoenix that's at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine, by a sculptor. That cost nothing for me to do. And it's just feeds my soul. It was fun. It was exciting. I went with friends. The next is being in nature at a place that me and my family go. And the third is my brother and niece and I and some others of my family had just built a path together. So we had time with each other. We had time, we were doing something that was really satisfying. So you have to make your desires really vivid and really visceral to claim them. So to shift from a budget to survive to a budget to thrive, what you do is you price out and you budget in your desires for a life that's worth living. So obviously, you're going to pay your basic needs. You're going to pay your mortgage and your rent. You're going to pay your, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you're going to do that plus. So, what do your ideal career, business, and lifestyle look like? I recommend that you get visual with photos, with words, maybe make a vision board, that you Google places, prices, flights, events, and fun, that you choose expensive and inexpensive options, that you ladder, once you have your list of desires, you ladder them by how much each will cost. And you take an affluent action toward a desire today. And finally, that you make your budget to thrive non negotiable. So, for example, if you don't have a lot, but you could take a walk in nature each day, and that would expand your experience of living a good life. That is a step towards an affluent action. Why is that important? Because you start somewhere, you start where you are. And then you can grow from there because once you have in your body the experience of feeling affluent, then you can take another affluent action. I have one client who wanted to do a lot more travel, and she had not been able to travel. And so we had a conversation about her doing something. And she took a day trip, and then she took a weekend trip. And since we've been consulting together, She's taken, I think, 7 or 8 different trips to various places. And so she's expanded her affluence and she started small. So if you need to start small, do that and then grow from there because it will get bigger. Second affluence practice. Access your existing hidden affluence. Very often we look at our lives, and because we're comparing ourselves to others, whether or not we want what they have, we are not satisfied. So, this practice is about leveraging our human tendency to compare and contrast ourselves with others to clarify and close your affluence gaps. So, what you're going to do is you're going to pick one person you admire for their, and I just gave a few examples. So, it could be other things as well, but looks or style, business expertise, lifestyle, income, or values. Then what you're going to do is you're going to write down, once you have that person and you've identified those things, specifically what you admire about them. So, for example, if they are if they're a speaker who's done a TED talk, you might admire that business expertise that got them the TED talk. If they also do crafts and have hobbies, you might admire that in the lifestyle sense. If they are getting paid a good income for being who they are, and they, at least on the surface, appear to be really living their affluent life, that could be something else. So I'm going to give you some examples. Oops. So here are a few of mine. Richard Branson. So Richard Branson, for me, I admire that he has a couple hundred companies and he is always um, interacting in teamwork, empowering people. He is very philanthropic. He is very smart business wise. And those are the reasons I admire him. Cynthia Koenig, you may not know, she developed something called the Wella Wheel. She went to places like Africa and India, and she noticed that the women were always going to get water. And what that meant specifically was that the girls did not get an education and they couldn't start businesses and they couldn't get on with their life because they were always going to get water. Um, so she developed this thing that could carry 40 gallons of water and freed up this whole half of every community in the places where she's tried it. Gary Vaynerchuk, he's a marketing guy. He was a wine person. He took his family's brick and mortar wine shop, took it online, and just changed the whole game. I saw him recently in New York at something called Business Gets Personal, and he decided that everybody else gave keynotes, and he got up there and he said, I'm not going to give a keynote. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take questions. Get up here on the stage, and he got a mic up and he answered something like 25 questions from everyone in the audience who could get to him. So I love his spontaneity. Oprah Winfrey, philanthropist, she's just done so much for so many people, and I just think she's a pretty amazing media person. Donald Trump, I like his income, I don't like his values. Jennifer Lawrence, The Hunger Games, Silver Linings Playbook. She's an actress, but I think she's made really brave choices, and I admire her for that bravery. So each of these people, for myself, I like for different reasons. And then there are other things that I don't like about them. Gary Vaynerchuk he doesn't have the same style that I have. He's a little more brash. So you don't have to like everything. You don't have to throw out something that someone has that you like because you don't like other aspects of them. Take what you like. So, to access your existing hidden affluence, what you're going to do is you're going to turn this lens on your own career, business, and life. You're going to ask yourself, what did you notice that you desire in the life of the person you admire that you already have in your own life and didn't see until now? Because very often what happens is we spend so much time comparing ourselves to others and looking at taking on what they want, what they have, even if it's not really what we want. And what did you notice that you desire in the life of the person you admire that is currently missing in your own life? So, for example, if a person has hobbies that you admire, if they are doing photographs, if they are going sailing, if they are doing different things, you could put that in your own life once you have identified it. Then what you're going to do is you're going to make an action plan to close those affluence gaps between the life you have and the one you desire, based on what you learned was missing during this practice. So fundamentally, that's how you do it. Just it's hard. The reason I developed this is that it's really hard to see ourselves because we're just too close. So if you look at another person and you take from another person, you can get really clear about what you want. And once you know what you want, then you can get crystal clear about how to get it with these two practices. So the final slide is about if you want to talk to me, if you want to work with me, I do 15-minute affluence gaps discovery calls. Typically, they're $15 for 15 minutes. These are complimentary for savvy ladies. So if you email me and schedule a call, I am delighted to serve you in this way. I also do affluence consulting. So I have one-on-one programs and I have group programs, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that because what I really want to do today is just deliver you value and serve you in the best way possible. So I'm open for questions.
Thanks, Allison. That's great. I really appreciate it. I wanted to ask you about the wrong market and people who find themselves in the wrong market, and how do you make the shift and locate the right market?
That's a really good question. So it depends on what basically your best clients are going to be the ones that resonate with you specifically, because there's no redundancy. There can be 100 people in the same field, and there will be a reason why that person only wants you. It depends on what you're charging for what your services are. So, for example, if you have a pricey package of services or offers, then you probably don't want to go to free networking events because those aren't your people. Those aren't the people who are going to invest. So you have to look both at the field of people who are buying what you're offering, but you also have to look at what you like. So if you love art and art shows and people who go to museum openings and stuff, those may be your clients. And you know that if they're members at those events, that they've paid something to be there. So those are going to be better qualified clients. So start with you. Start with what you love to do, because the more connections in your own story to your clients, the more they will resonate with you personally. And people buy who they know, like, and trust. We all know that. But it gets bigger. To have it be pleasurable for you, you have to know, like, and trust them too.
Great, great. While we're waiting for questions to come in, I have a maybe this is an observation, but I wanted to ask you, in your work with clients, do you find that it's women business owners that tend to underestimate their value of their expertise?
Yes, I really do. I can't tell you the number of times I've heard, well, I wouldn't pay that for this. And yet, that person who's asking about that couldn't do it in the same way. And what I see a lot is people really tangling up what they're worth and what they do is worth. And one of the things that I recommend is that most people who've been in business or in a career for any length of time have thank you notes, have testimonials, have things that clients have said about them. And so I'll give you a little extra practice. One thing that I recommend if someone has this challenge is to take something that someone has said about you or about your services, stand in front of the mirror, read it out, and then make an assessment of if you got that result, had that experience, what would you pay for it?
Yeah, that's great. All right, we have one question. What can I do to rework my budget to thrive when I have a setback?
What can I do to rework my budget to thrive?
So I guess because of all the budgeting information that we are schooled on, it's always that you have to have an emergency fund. So I guess what happens is sometimes in your effort to thrive, life throws you a curveball. So
absolutely. And what happens typically is that our natural instinct is to contract. So, if you're a hedgehog and something is coming at you, you curl up. We do that too. So when there's a setback, especially a financial setback, we curl up. So the key is to begin expanding again. So start somewhere and start small. So if there's some small thing that you can do that will add to your sense of, for example, if an emergency fund has just been blown out by some experience, then start somewhere. Begin building it up $5 at a time. Because from anything you can grow it, and you can actually grow it faster than you could possibly imagine. Because the key is, since it starts from you, the key is once you're expanding, you're going to see more possibilities. When we're contracted, we see less. So we're actually making worse choices about the actions that we take to recover from a setback.
Thanks. Okay, we have time for one more. And this is a question that came in over email. Is it a bad habit to say I'll switch to a budget to thrive in a few years because I really can't afford anything other than a budget to survive right now? Can I change this?
Yes, it's a bad habit not to step into a budget to thrive right now. So what you're going to do is you're going to step into a budget to thrive, and they might not be money things, but they are things that increase your sense of your own affluence and your sense that you will not forever be in this place where a budget to survive is all you can do. So you have to expand before you think you can. And what that does is that changes what's possible for you. And that changes, actually, it literally changes what you see for yourself.
Great. Thanks, Allison. Thank you so much. I appreciate everyone's attendance and some great questions. And enjoy the rest of your day. And thanks again, Allison, for a great presentation.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.